Welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about how to use this tracking tool. So the first thing you're going to want to do is log into your Google account. If you don't have one, you'll need to create one at google.com. And then in this file, you'll go to the File menu up here and then choose Make a Copy. When you do that, you can give that a new name. I recommend putting your name in it, and then choosing whatever folder in your Google Drive you want to save it in, and then click OK. And then it'll create your own copy that you can edit and work on over time. It'll remember all the changes you make throughout the quarter as long as you're logged into your Google account. I'm going to cancel this for now and just use this sample one. Put your name here up in the blue box so that if you decide to share this with your instructor, then they'll know who or which student this is referring to. So I'm going to just put in someone's name here, right? And then basically what you're going to do is, as you make your way through the quarter, you're going to place a check mark in any of the quizzes, learning mastery checks, or writing mastery checks where you score a 3 or higher, because that is how you show mastery on that particular assignment. So if you get a 3 on quiz 1, you'd click that check mark. If you get a 3.5 on learning mastery check 1, you would click your check mark. And you would continue to do that as you make progress through these different assignments. Also, along the way, you might periodically want to enter your current homework percentage that you can get from the WAMAT gradebook. You'll also get data from the WAMAT gradebook for these assignments as well. It's all there. But you would want to enter your current homework percentage, whatever that might be. So let's say you're at a 92% and your engagement is, let's say, 87%. I would recommend just leaving the final mastery check, which is your final exam basically, until the very end of the quarter. Just leave it at 75. Now, this particular spreadsheet tool is not really going to be super useful until you're about halfway to 60% of the way through the quarter. Because as you make your way through the quarter and check off what is completed, then this is all going to update and get you closer to the first level, which is a base grade of 1.0. So basically what you're doing is you're building your grade up. It really doesn't go down much unless you have some adjustments later on in the quarter, but we'll talk about that later. But in general, you're just kind of building the blocks you need to get the grade that you want. You'll notice here as I check off boxes for these different assignments where I'm showing mastery that a couple of things are happening. It's giving me the total number of quizzes and the total number of mastery checks that I have shown mastery on. And it's also telling me how many more of these I need to show mastery on to get to the next base grade level. So if I have 7 quizzes done, I need 1 more quiz to get to a base grade of 1, but I need 6 more learning mastery checks or writing mastery checks to get to that base grade of 1.0. So like I said, it's going to be a good 60% of the way through the quarter before there are even enough assignments available to get you there. But let's just suppose you do, and let's fill some stuff in. So let me go ahead and fill in some check marks indicating that I've made some progress through the quarter. So let's see if we can do a couple more. All right, so let's do this. Okay, so now what we're going to see here, let's say we're at this point in the quarter, and now you can see that I've gotten my base grade to a 1. So that's the first level, right? A grade of 1.0. And at that point, it's going to tell you now what you need to do to get to the next base grade. So if you're starting at a 1, then the next base grade is a 2.0, and it's going to tell you you need to show mastery on 2 more quizzes and 3 more LMCs or WMCs, and you need to keep your homework at or above 75%. Right now it's at 92, so great, you're there. Let's say your homework for whatever reason has dropped down to, let's say, 82. Notice it doesn't change your base grade because your minimum for a 1.0 is 75%. Excuse me, the minimum to get a 1.0 is a little lower than that, but if you want to get to a 2.0, you need to stay at or above a 75. And you're still there if you're at 82. So at this point, if you're trying to get to the next base grade, what you'd want to do is maybe potentially go back and look at if you could reattempt another quiz or another learning mastery check or another writing mastery check to be able to check off one of those items that you need in this list. You need 2 more quizzes. So you could do that by checking off any of the future quizzes that you have not yet taken, let's say, or going back. Now remember, you have 2 attempts on a quiz, so use those first. If you use 2 attempts and still can't get a 3 or higher to get that check mark, you may need to use a token to request that. Same is true for a learning mastery check. You have 2 attempts by default available to you. If you need a 3rd attempt or more, you're going to need to use a token. But let's just say you do. Let's say you go back and decide I want to redo writing mastery check 2. I didn't do well on the first attempt. I ask for a new attempt. I meet all the conditions. I resubmit it and I do well, right? So now I have shown that I have mastery on that particular assignment and learning outcome, so I can check that off and my number required goes down by 1. I can go back and maybe do another learning mastery check from the past and check that off. And I can do the next one that maybe is due tomorrow a little early, and when I do that I can see I've got no more left to get to a 2.0. I got 2 more quizzes to do. Well, I'll do the one that's due this week. I pass that, let's say. Then I go back and request another attempt with a token for, let's say, quiz 5. Didn't do well the first 2 times, but I study, I review, I put in the effort to show that I really have learned it, and I do show that I've learned it, and I have that. Notice the base grade now jumps to a 2.0 when I click that. It's a 1.00. At this point, I go back and show 1 more quiz has mastery. It jumps up to a 2. So now basically my grade is essentially a 2.0 or higher, before any adjustments. And then it's going to, once again, it's going to tell me what I need to do to get to the next base grade, which is a B, 3.0. I need 1 more quiz, I need 2 more mastery checks, and I need to increase my homework from 85 to 82. So there's 3 things I need to pay attention to. I got to make sure this homework gets up there. So I need to make sure I regenerate problems on all the future homeworks so that this average goes up. Let's say I get it up to 92, right? So now, to get to a base grade of 3, then I just need to keep my homework at 85 or above. So I'll monitor that as I do my homework. And then I got 1 more quiz to master. And now notice I've got 4 left to do that on. And I only need 1 more to get a 3.0 base grade. But I need 2 more mastery checks, learning or writing. So again, those could be from future ones that I haven't yet attempted, or they could be from going back and reattempting old ones, assuming that I have more attempts left, or that I use a token to get an extension or an additional attempt. And so as you make your way through the course and tick off the different items that are required to change your base grade, it's going to automatically change for you. Now you can see I'm at a base grade of 3. That's going to tell me what I need to do to get to a 4. 2 more quizzes, 2 more mastery checks, and I need to get that homework average up to a 95. And then at the end of the quarter, then your base grade can be adjusted up or down by either your engagement percentage or your final exam total. So as long as these numbers for engagement and the final exam are 75 or higher, then you will not have your base grade lowered. If you get higher than a 75, let's say you're at a 92 for engagement, notice you'll see a 0.2 upwards adjustment of your base grade. So instead of a 3.0, you're going to get a 3.2. If you can do really well on the final and get, let's say, a 91% on the final, then you're going to see a 0.3 adjustment to your base grade. So now you'll be up to potentially 3.5 in this example. You have to be careful. If your engagement is below 75, way down below, so you're not doing the forums or whatever assignments are in the engagement category, then you might see a negative adjustment for that lower score. And the same thing is true for the final exam. You need a 75 or higher to keep your base grade from lowering at all. So if you were to get lower than a 75, you might see a small adjustment based on how far below 75 you are. If you skip the final completely and you have a 0 on it, then actually, let's see, let's go with, it's giving me, we need a number between 1 and 100. So let's see if I can get just a really low score of 5% on my final exam. You can see that the number here is adjusting much more. So by really doing poorly or skipping the final, that base grade will be adjusted downward quite a bit and potentially lower my grade. So you definitely want to take the final. You want to get at least a 75 so that there is no adjustment to your grade. And you want to, if possible, make sure it's well above that. If it's a little bit below, it's really not going to lower your grade a whole lot. But again, 75 is your target to make sure your grade isn't being adjusted downward at all. So that's how this particular system works. Early on, I would not focus so much on the final mastery check number or any of these adjustments because they're not really going to come into play until the end of the quarter. Instead, I'd focus on getting as many of these check marks as you can by scoring 3 or higher on these assignments in the green or the blue, making sure your homework is as high as possible, no lower than 75, and making sure that your engagement is as high as possible. Once again, no lower than 75. If you do all of those things and continue to add checks and show that you've mastered different learning outcomes across assignments, across time, you will see your base grade grow over time. And with this system, you are fully in control of your grade because you know exactly what you need to do in order to get from where you are now to where you want to be.